there was so much physics that was just a common sense thing in making sure that these tools were right. Whereas you have things like braided line, which has no stretch. You have monofilament, which is a nylon line that has a lot of stretch. And you have something in between, fluorocarbon, which has some stretch, but nowhere near as much as monofilament. And all three of those variables on the same rod are going to give you a different end result when you set the hook. And it's also going to play into, in fact, the type of cover you're fishing, as well as the type of weights you're using and everything else that goes into it. So if you have a very stiff rod and you're fishing braided line that doesn't stretch, you have nothing giving in your chain from when you set the hook and lift that rod to when the hook goes in the fish's mouth. So with no give anywhere, you're tearing a hole in that fish's mouth. And if the fish has any slack or any give, there's a good chance he's going to fall off the hook. So if you're fishing braided line in certain situations, you're going to want a rod that has some tip action where it's going to give, and it's going to be forgiving. It's going to keep that hook in the fish's mouth. And that all played true throughout the whole line when we started developing rods for throwing moving baits, such as spinner baits and chatter baits and rattle traps and jerk baits, anything with exposed hooks. And what you want is a bait that's moving fast. A fish is going to track it. These bass will come up behind it. They'll hit it from the side. They'll inhale it. You want that tip to give. And you want to keep it under pressure at all times to keep those hooks in the fish. But you also want enough power in the back end to be able to keep the fish on the rod, set the hook. And that goes back to Witch Doctor tackle rods were really designed around the fisherman's style of fishing. We make a rod that's perfect for you and perfect for someone else, whereas that rod, maybe two totally different rods for the same bait based on the style that you fish, the type of line you use, and the weight of lure that you're fishing. And we've really made it a science in terms of how to select a rod, how to get something that's going to catch more fish. And it always became amazing to me when I'd go to tournaments and I'd have guys standing there at the scales and every time telling me about the fish that they lost. And all I thought to myself is, I wish I had those opportunities. You know, I'd come in a lot of times and I did very, very well in tournaments and I only got 5 bites, but I caught 5 fish, you know, and it's a 5 fish weigh-in, and if you can bring in 5, that's all that it presents, that you did as well as you could. And so in working more and more to help people hook more fish, I think of my company as more of a caddy, like in golf, to select the right tool for the person executing the shot.